March Madness is upon us. And couple that with the NBA season is going on, actually going to the playoffs. A better way to bet on those games and games in other sports like the Premier League and everything else, or even Major League Soccer, than betus.com, where you can get 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500 by using the promo code TKT for the Klown Times. So with these other perks here, you can bet on the go, you can bet anytime, anywhere on your mobile device. You get fast pass, so you get paid immediately every single time. And last but not least, you can you could do live betting where you can bet during the game, getting the early and the best lines. Again, use my promo code TKT for the Klown Times to get up to 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but go to betus.com where the game begins. Welcome to the nice edition of the Klown Hour Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Hello, it's my man Dwayne Nash. Please check him out on the yard/HBCU Sports raps about all things HBCU Sports. The website on the backdrop there, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And right quick, Dwayne, how often do you guys upload to YouTube?
It should be once a week. You know, we do it live on Facebook every Tuesday, and then I think it goes up onto YouTube the following day.
There you go. Boom. So Wednesdays, look out for it. All right. So HeroSports.com as well. He's busy like a West Indian. HeroSports.com, who writes about all things FCS athletics as pertains to HBCU Sports. My grandfather was West Indian, so I don't want to hear it. For me, on my mother's side, the Klown Times, that is my sports blog. Check me out on www.theklowntimes.net. You can also check me out on Facebook as well. So your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever y'all may be, type in the Klown Times and search window, search area on Facebook.com. You'll find me there as well. A couple more things. Speaking of what I showed you, get the merch.
Get that merch.
Cafepress.com, search for the Klown Times Sports. I have that link in the description, as well as Dwayne's links in the description when I upload this to YouTube tomorrow, In addition to hats, I got sweatshirts, T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, mouse pads. I got it all on cafepress.com, yo. So one last thing, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those 4 things will make me happy. Hit the bell button to get the notifications. And hey, I literally put out like some content during the week in addition to this podcast and clips and just random rants. So anyway, just hit the bell, just hit the subscribe button there. You'll be glad you did. I'll be glad you did. All right, let's get this started. So we got a national championship tonight, but before we get there, what led up to tonight, something about Coach K, the team that beat Coach K, ruined his life not only once, but twice. Carolina, UNC, those goddamn Tar Heels, man. Not that I'm a Duke fan. I can't stand Duke. I went to NC State undergrad. I despise both squads. My ultimate wish would have been for the bottom of the court to open up, swallow both squads, keep Coach K and Hubert Davis and his white wife, because I actually like those 2 guys. But get rid of everybody else, get rid of the fans, spit up skeletons. I don't give a damn. That would have made my night. But since that type of thing doesn't happen, the next best thing is seeing one of those teams go home crying. It had to be Duke and Coach K. Watching him hold his wife's hands walking off the court was pretty sad and sombering, to be honest with you, knowing that this is it for him.
Yeah.
But, the thing is that Carolina beat them by 481-77 in the Final Four. It's hard to believe this is the first time that they played each other, Duke and UNC played each other in the NCAA tournament, let alone the Final Four, right?
Well, yes and no, right? I guess it's a little bit harder to believe because, God, the last time that both of them were at least in the Final Four was, 1991, I think? Was that the year? And I think Carolina got eliminated, but Duke
that's
did
right,
advance.
by Kansas. That was Roy Williams' first couple years in Kansas.
Yeah.
He went up against.
Matter of fact, that was Hubert Davis's. When Hubert Davis was playing at Carolina.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how this phone comes full circle?
A full circle.
Being back in the Final Four with him as coach, even that's crazy.
Yeah. So and I think the stat is that it wouldn't have been possible for them to do it before 1975. Right. I can't remember exactly what the reason is, but I think that's the year that it couldn't have happened. But there's some other years where we might have maybe could have seen it happen with the both of them being great in certain years, mm-hmm. and with the possibility of them getting to the Final Four together. But of course, someone gets eliminated, and it never happened.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. It's a lot more now, and now with me saying it out loud, it's a lot more shocking than what I think it is. But I am intrigued to hear how many times do conference rivals face one another in the NCAA tournament, let alone in at least the Elite Eight or the Final Four.
Mm-hmm. And, that year, I remember when Kansas beat Carolina with, again, that's where we was out the first or second year, I forget. Carolina was heavily favored. I remember that. Uh-huh. And that was a huge upset because that was basically Roy Williams beating his mentor, Dean Smith. Which, basically we were this. I mean, and remember, that Final Four is full of upsets because Duke upset UNLV, mm-hmm. hand them their first and only loss in the Final Four at the year after UNLV just curb stomped the hell out of Duke. And that pretty much displayed Coach K's greatness in that he had a perfect game plan to beat the almighty UNLV. I do remember that. So both Final Fours resulted in huge upsets, basically. It would Duke take a home round and beating Kansas. But just think about this for a minute. Carolina curb stomps Duke in Coach K's final game at Cameron, right? And fast forward to the Final Four, the first time meeting in the NCAA tournament, with the stakes that was the Final Four, even. Carolina ruined Coach K's dream ride again. So, I mean, I'll talk about Hubert Davis in a minute, but it's like this is the end of an era, right? So now you have John Shire about to take over for Coach K start next season, right? He was the handpicked heir apparent, and good for him. He's been on the staff for a good minute, so good for him. And he led John Shire, for those younger folks out there, he led the Duke Blue Devils to an NCAA tournament title win over Butler. Remember when Hayward hit from Butler, almost nailed that half-court shot to beat them? So that so that was that squad. That was John Shire led that team of Duke to the title. So the man could play, and he's been one of their top recruiters. So there's a continuity thing, which is why he named him his heir apparent. I think come to think of it, this is a little tangent here, but if Jeff Capel didn't go to Pitt, I thought that he would be an heir apparent.
That's what I was thinking.
He has head coaching experience at Oklahoma. He coached Blake Griffin and company.
Yeah.
So he had at the time head coaching experience, and he was one of the main recruiters. So when he went to Pitt, and he's trying to turn that dumpster fire around. He's trying hard to turn that around. It's not because he's not trying. It's just how bad the previous coach was. Stallings, dude from Vanderbilt. God damn, he run that program. But anyway, the point is that if Capel didn't go to Pitt, I believe that he would have been the heir apparent to succeed Coach K. Again, given his prior head coaching experience and the fact that he was one of his lead recruiters.
Lead recruiters also on the staff.
Yeah.
There were several guys that we thought, over the past 15 years, whenever Coach K decided to retire, would one of these guys end up stepping up to be his heir apparent?
Right.
But of course, they got tired of waiting, which I would most definitely expect, right?
Of course, yeah.
Especially when another institution is another program is looking to give you a head coaching job, and you don't know exactly when Coach K is going to leave,
and you don't know when that chance will come again. To your point,
exactly, right? Yeah.
So, again, prayers to Jeff Cable to turn that program, turn Pitt around. But now it's the beginning of a new era in the ACC, right? In addition to John Shire, you have, of course, Hubert Davis, who's been on Roy Williams' staff. He's a Carolina guy, obviously. He played at Carolina, had a solid career in the NBA. He's Nick. So I'll forever love him for that. And remember that phantom foul that they created on Scottie Pippen, I think it was, in the Eastern Conference semis, like after Jordan's retirement, the year after Jordan's retirement. When Chicago actually probably should have beaten my Knicks. That was the year that we played and lost to Houston in the finals.
In the finals, yeah. That's the infamous Pippen on Ewing dunk that everyone remembers.
Yeah, don't remind me. Please don't remind me of that dunk.
That's the funny thing, though, right? Because everyone remembers the dunk, but no one outside of New York remembers the fact that the Knicks won that series.
Right.
So, and that dunk was...
And that glorious 4-point play on that phantom foul that got called on Scottie Pippen fouling Hubert Davis. I don't think he made it. Did he make the shot? He fouled him.
I can't remember.
But nevertheless, he fouled him. It was the last second, damn near last second fouls. And Hubert Davis hit the walk-off free throws. So to actually win the game. I think that was game 5. So that was the pivotal game 5 of that series. But at any rate, the point is that Hubert Davis has a long track record of balling out. He has a solid career in the NBA. And, he did all this, he's obviously superstar in North Carolina. He's been on Roy Williams' staff for a good minute. And he's getting the chance, the first Black head coach in any sport at Carolina, which, by the way, remember when they brought that up at his introductory press conference, he, for some reason, decided to tell everybody that he was more proud of his white wife for marrying him. I don't know what that had to do with the privacy of China. I don't know if he wanted to score some brownie points. I don't know if he was the one to get some that night. I don't know. And that didn't have a damn thing to do with the question. But hey, the dude loves his wife. I can't be mad at him, I suppose. But anyway, so basically, the running joke is that if he decides to do well, good for him and his white wife. So that's the time about the fight.
I'll say this, right? I'm not going to defend him on that comment because I'm giving up defending people, especially those that I don't know.
Sure.
I'm just going to assume that he was looking to give some sort of unifying comment that, is not necessarily about race because I have a white wife.
Of course.
But again, I'm not Hubert, even though he's from this area. I believe my mom worked with his mom over in the Department of Education.
Okay.
With him being from the area, but I don't know him and I can't speak for him.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds logical enough to make sense. But again, I don't know.
I suppose.
I know, right? I suppose, but I don't know.
But nevertheless, I'm happy for the brother. Nevertheless. Yeah. So now you have Shire, you have Hubert Davis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the Carolina and Duke rivalry has new faces.
Yes.
Starting next season. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But basically, go again back to Coach K real quick. And, I think a lot of us took, including yours truly, having grown up in the state, following ACC basketball since I was a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken that man for granted, his greatness. I mean, the fact of the matter is that he's a modern-day Wooden, 5 national championships in a much tougher era than it was with John Wooden. No disrespect to John Wooden and his greatness, but let's just be real. College basketball back then is not what it is now.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You don't have – it was only a handful of great teams back in the 50s and 60s because you know how things were set with regards to recruiting and being on TV. Not everybody, mama's on TV. Everybody can recruit. Well, theoretically, everybody should be able to recruit. And, Coach K, and you know what the thing is? He went from selecting or recruiting 4-year players to one and dones and succeeded in both ways, right? Because he's seen Calipari do it. He's seen other cats do it. He's seen Jim Boeheim win with a one and done and Carmelo Anthony. So he's like, well, what the hell am I doing? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was like a mix. He recruits one and dones with 2 and 3 and 4-year players.
Yeah.
That mix. So it's going to be interesting to see who like John Shire brings in, because I mean, Coach K is going to stick around the program, and consult and help Shire, probably, right? So Goose will still get the Coach K connection, right? And the Duke brand,
almost
like golden. It's a blue blood.
Yeah.
So he's got the brand is always going to be there. But I'm just curious to see how that rivalry looks with Josh Shire, Hubert Davis, and then if you expand to the rest of the ACC, eventually Jimmy Boeheim is going to hang him up. Who does have in place? Jerry McNamara? I mean, I don't know. McNamara's one of the lead recruiters, so I don't know, right? I forgot who they hired at Louisville to take Chris Mack's place.
Oh wow!
But there's a lot of new faces to the ACC. I don't know if NC State will be able to hold on to their coach. The brother man himself is the Dapper Dad. I call him Dapper Dad because he has that slick red suit, that red sports coat.
Okay.
But anyway, point is that now the elder statesman of the ACC resides, arguably one of the statesmen resides in Virginia, in Charlottesville, right? So in Bennett. So
Bennett, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going. The ACC is changing. it's just changing before our very eyes, and it's interesting to see how the conference moves forward, right?
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see exactly what direction they do head into, because like you said, even though Williams wasn't there, because when did he get hired? He got hired. It had to have been what, 2000?
2002, I think. I'll
something
have
like that.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there for 20 years, but he's Coach K goes back to 1980.
Correct.
And to see all of the coaches that have left the conference, all the coaches and teams that have entered the conference since he's been head coach at Duke, we've seen the conference go through a lot of changes, and but he's been the mainstay the entire time. And we've seen two coaches stay at least 20 years at Chapel Hill with Dean
Smith.
Dean Smith was there for maybe 15 years during that time period. So you had Dean Smith, and then of course you had
Guthridge for
Coach
a while.
Williams.
Guthridge between and Brad Doherty. I mean, not Brad Doherty, but Matt Doherty.
Matt Doherty, yeah. So you had a couple of other long stays at Carolina. Bennett's been there for at least 10, 15 years now, and then of course with Boeheim, with them coming over from the Big East over to the ACC.
Yep.
So, God, it's like everything changed, and that was the only constant, and now he's gone. And it's interesting that he leaves a year after Roy Williams, with Boeheim in his 70s with his foot out the door too.
Yep.
Oh man, it's not our ACC anymore.
No, it ain't. It's not. It's not ours. It's not our Pappy's either.
No, oh God.
You know what I'm saying? It's no more Letty Drizel, no more D. Smith, no more Bobby Crimmins and Georgia Tech.
Bobby Crimmins.
Yeah. It's
your boy in Wake Forest is no longer, who left years ago.
Dave Odom.
Yeah.
And Skip Prosser after him. God rest his soul. So it's crazy. It's crazy now what this ACC is going to look like. But let's extrapolate to what we all think is going to happen tonight. I think I want to. My heart says Kansas, because I cannot put up with extremely obnoxious Carolina fans, Because we all know good and damn well that if they pull off the upset against Kansas, Carolina fan is going to be probably more insufferable than they've been in the entire existence. More so than Roy Williams' 2 or 3 titles that he won at Carolina, more so than these 5th 2 that he won. They're going to be obnoxious because this is Hubert Davis's first year. They'll be doing it as an HC, literally coming out off nowhere, off the bubble in the regular season. Near the end of the regular season, of getting beat at home by Pitt. Right?
Yeah.
Curb stomped at Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Come from all that, I think Miami hammered them too. So to come out from all of that and to upset Duke the last game of the season, have that awesome run in the NCAA tournament when they beat Baylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
They beat UCLA, 2 Final Four participants, and the former being a title, the defending champs.
The defending champion,
and Baylor. Baylor was the top seed in the region. And then, of course, beat the Cinderella, the Cinderella team that was St. Peter's. And beating Duke again with that shot by Caleb Love, man, that kid he's cold-blooded.
I know, right?
In New Orleans, too. Remember, because they won, Dean Smith's first title was in New Orleans. Dean Smith's second title was in New Orleans, right? So now they're back in New Orleans, albeit under Hubert Davis. So it'll be 2 serendipitous if they were to pull up a hat trick in New Orleans. But I think it comes down to Armando Bacot's health, mainly his ankle. Because that dude is a rebounding machine. He had, 15 boards last game? No, 20. He had over 20 boards last game, I think.
He balled out. Yeah.
He balled the hell out. And so if he's not effective, at least effective against that David McCormick dude from Kansas, who's a monster, that's a big brother. If he can't go against him, it's Kansas all day. It'll be Kansas's game to lose. So it depends on Armando Bacot's health. I'm hoping it's a competitive game. But again, I don't want to see Carolina fans gloat on that or social media. I know too damn many of them. I grew up with too damn many of them. My closest friends from college, too damn many of them are Carolina fans. So I want to see Kansas pull it off, But let's see. We have to see about Armando Bacot's health. So
wait a minute. You went to state with guys who stayed Carolina fans?
Well, I went to this small school in Texas before transferring these.
Oh, okay.
With a lot of them from the state of North Carolina. So that's a long story for another time. But the fact of the matter is, even though some of the ones who did with the NC State with me grew up Carolina fans. And they were very obnoxious about it, which is crazy, but it is what it is.
But my tuition is going to state. But okay, I guess though. But I digress. Just like you, of course, attending college in North Carolina. Of course, I have a ton of friends who are also Tar Heel fans. Some of them actually who will go on to go on to get a secondary degree at UNC. Right. And then, of course, I got to shout out my girl, my homie, Jennifer Lynn, who used to actually play at Carolina on the women's basketball team. Oh, wow. Who, of course, is a staunch Tar Heel, who, of course, came to A&T and ended up working within the athletics department, ended up eventually becoming the associate athletic director at A&T. But, my entire feed this entire weekend was what I like to say filled with light blue and slaps.
It's
So I had to turn off my Facebook, man. I'm like, dude, I'm tired of seeing all this light blue. And yes, I'm saying light blue. I am a graphic designer. I understand that you're going to go ahead and be picky about it and call it Carolina blue. I'm going to refer to it as light blue because I don't like y'all. All right? I don't like y'all.
You are nicer than me. I call them pastel blue. And I have a friend of mine, she called it something very politically incorrect blue. So I'll leave that alone. But, I'll leave it alone. I leave that alone. But the point is that it's light blue. It's pastel. Like I said, when you say light blue, I say pastel blue. So let's leave that shit alone, Carolina.
But yeah,
that's why I hope Kansas beats them down.
But see, that's why I'm a little concerned, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So of course we're relying. We're not relying, but we're waiting to see whether or not Bacot can come back, like you said, to your point, because he had a double-double.
Yes, he did.
Right,
a big game before he got hurt.
Yeah, in their win against Duke, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can come back and play. Because, like you said, McCormick, and then what's the other boy's name that plays down low? McCormick, Jalen Wilson.
Yes,
if they can play well down low, it's going to be tough for Carolina to compete against them in that matchup. But I mean, of course, everyone's talking about your boy, or said Agbaji and Remy Martin, because of course Remy Martin. Right. So it's easy to bring them up. But yeah, it's going to be the inside presence, in my opinion, for Kansas that Carolina's going to have to focus on and try to stop them down low, so that Kansas can't not only get offensive boards, but of course have multiple possessions where they have second or third opportunities at scoring buckets. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Carolina's going to look in this matchup tonight.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. So So I'm hoping against the upset. I'm hoping against the upset. I hope an upset does not happen. So I could pick at Carolina fan where Carolina fan was like, well, In-State didn't even make the tournament. In-State this and that. You made the title game. You're the brand. What's your excuse? So I'm getting all my shit ready.
But before we move on or whatever, I do got to bring this up. The reason why I had this weird feeling about Carolina is the fact that all day today, I heard was, how is Carolina going to be able to get up for this game emotionally, being that they won their Super Bowl on Saturday?
They beat their arch rival, yes, right.
Yes, which is another reason. This is the reason why Carolina fans are going to be insufferable. They already are. The reason why they're going to be more so is, of course, they come into the tournament as the 8th seed.
Right.
Not only do they beat Duke in Cameron in Coach K's last home game ever, but they beat them in their first and only tournament meeting, which just happens to be in the Final Four.
Right.
So you have all of that rolled into one, and they win the title.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'm already fearing what my timeline is going to look like tomorrow morning, or tonight, with it'll be tonight. Tar Heel victory.
Oh, they'll be out in force tonight. They're not going to wait till the morning, brother.
I know it's going to be in full force tonight.
They'll be out in force tonight.
But it's going to end up staying up to the morning, and I'm going to do my best to try to avoid it later on tonight. But I'm just waiting to see if it happens.
Right. So it remains to be said. I just gotta hope Kansas win. Not only hope they win, I hope they beat their ass too. I really hope so, but we'll see. We're going to shift from college basketball to the NBA, where it's fantastic. It's hard to believe it's like 3 to 4 games left in the season now, depending on which teams play how many games, right? It's unreal. It's crazy that we're almost at the end of the season, dude. But there's one team that concerns me heading to the playoffs, heading down the stretch. It's the Philadelphia 76ers. Why, you may ask? I mean, they have Joel Embiid, who's the MVP candidate, right? They got, good young players, and they have James Harden. But the concern I have is James Harden. I mean, I was like one of the few people concerned about the chemistry when they traded for James Harden way back when, right? When they shipped Ben Simmons' ass out of town. and a couple of tomato cans. Well, not tomato cans, but Steph Curry and Andre Drummond, 2 solid players, and a couple of tomato cans. But everyone in Mama swore up and down that Philly won the trade hands down, right? And, because they got James Harden, Joel Embiid on pick and roll. How are you going to stop that? What? Right? But if you look at the last few games, right, they've lost 3 of 5. Sure, they won 2 in a row. They beat the Hornets, and they won in Cleveland. But damn, I mean, it's like the way James Harden's been playing, Philly was a more free-flowing team. You know, they got what? They got good young players, Tyrese Maxey, right? The point guard averaging 17 points a game and whatnot. But, you know, George Niang is playing pretty good. Tobias Harris is Tobias Harris, right? But the fact of the matter is that James Harden, if you're paying attention to those you pay attention the last few years, he's a ball stopper. He dribbles the ball up, pats the ball for 22 out of 24 seconds on the shot clock. Then he dishes it off, either he shoots it or dishes off to take a quick shot, whoever, stand on the wings with little time to get a shot. So basically, they've gone from, the Sixers going from free-flowing to pick and roll, James Harden with Joel Embiid, I suppose, and Maxey, a few other guys stand in the corner waiting for to shoot the three. That's not Philly's game. That's not Doc Rivers' style of offense.
No.
And so the thing is that I'm afraid that Harden is going to try. I mean, he's done it before. Try to bring his coach in, a la what's his name, Mike D'Antoni. Mm-hmm. And because he already has this guy in the front office and Daryl Morey, so he's trying to make this Houston North, which would not work for Embiid all that much.
Oh my, and most definitely won't work for Joel.
No, because Joel Embiid is a lot better than he's in Atlanta right now, but he used to be the center when James Harden was in Houston. I'll think of his name in a second. But the point is that Joel Embiid went from a surefire MVP front runner to like back in the pack, if you will, because you got the Joker, right, and Denver doing this thing. You have, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak. I try to pronounce his last name. I just call him the Greek Freak because I don't want to mess my floor up. So you got the Greek Freak playing well, you know, leading his team down the stretch. You have my man in Chicago, played in Toronto all those years, played in last year.
God, I see his face. DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan playing well. And you have this young man in Phoenix, Devin Booker.
Who a lot of people are ignoring.
Yes, for some reason, because he has his team. His team is the best team in the league.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the best team.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting as much love as I think he should be getting. So all I have to say is I'm worried about Philly because let's face it, they have only a 2-year window at best. Because if you look at the damn rest of the East, which is crazy deep, man. I've never seen the East this deep in several years. The top four teams are separated by 2.5 games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Miami's on top for now, followed by Boston, who came out of nowhere. Boston's as hot as fish grease.
Yeah.
They've come from barely in the play-in area to second best in the Eastern Conference. They won 8 on the last set. They've been on a tear in the second half of the season. Followed by Milwaukee and Philly, tied for third and fourth place. Then you have Chicago, and even Toronto's playing better. So it's like you have all these teams, and now counting Brooklyn for next season when they have a healthier Ben Simmons, a healthier Kevin Durant. Who knows what's going to go on with Kyrie Irving, but at least he's able to play home games now. So and Atlanta's going to be better. Cleveland's going to be better. Charlotte's going to be better. So that's your Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
It's hella deep.
Very deep.
It's hella deep. So now, if you're Philly, you only got 2 years to make it happen, man. Because otherwise, because Miami's not going anywhere. I forgot about Miami. You know, Miami's on 1-4 in a row. They're the best team in the East. I told people before the season to look out for Miami. What do you know, my boy? Your boy was right. Pat myself on the back there. But anyway, the point is that, you know, I think James Harden has his contract was up after this year, right?
I think so.
So that throws another wrinkle. So what's going to happen with that? So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen in Philly in this playoffs this year's plus because it's not a cakewalk. If the way things stand right now, they play Chicago in the first round. They'll probably beat Chicago in the first round. But they probably end up playing Miami in the second round.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah.
So as of right now, based upon what's going on with the Sixers and where they may or may not be placed, the matchups that they currently could face in the first round, like you said, Chicago is if they're coming in at the 4 seed, and that's my Philly. Philly is well, before tonight's games, we're tied for third or somewhere between third and fourth, right?
Yes.
So if they finish third or fourth, they can face the likes of the Chicago Bulls, who they swept this season, the Toronto Raptors, who they're actually 1-2 against this year with a fourth game coming up sometime next week. Yes. And their 2 losses against the Raptors are at home. And then, of course, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they've swept, and then the Atlanta Hawks, who they've beaten 2 out of 3 times. Right. So their first round opponent, unless it's Toronto, they should be able to handle. But to your point, that next round, depending upon where they come in, especially if they come in at the 4 seed and Miami comes in at the 1, they will have to face the Heat in the second round. In the way that we already know that Spoelstra is going to have that team playing defense, it's going to be problematic for the 76ers in that round, especially with the way that James Harden has been playing since coming to Philly. And to your point, we've kind of seen this before, right? Where a marquee player or several marquee players come to a young team and with the hopes of turning that team around, only to break up a young nucleus, and those young pieces end up going elsewhere and end up playing well. We've seen that happen with the Lakers. We've seen that happen with the Nets. You know, and
Cleveland still says thank you to Brooklyn to this day.
Exactly.
They're like, thank
right?
you, God. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus, for that trade.
Yes. And now you have the 76ers who could be going through the exact same thing. Yeah. And for those who don't believe me, let me go ahead and talk you through some of these stats with James Harden since coming over to the Lakers. I'm sorry, not the Lakers, but to the Sixers. Okay, so yes, the Sixers are 11-6 since the James Harden trade. They're 8-6 against playoff teams and 3-1 against non-playoff teams, with their key wins being against Miami. So they got 1 win during that time frame against the Heat. They beat the Dallas Mavericks during that time, and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 3 times, which is why I say if they play against the Cavs in the first round, they should potentially handle them.
Right.
But in their final 4 games, they got 2 games against the Indiana Pacers. They got another game against Toronto, and then they got their final game against the Detroit Pistons. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, like I said before, where they're going to finish. I'm just a little concerned about what happens to them in the second round because of Harden's play. Harden, since coming to Philly, has made less than 6 shots, so 5.6 shots per game, and is currently putting up 13.8 attempts per game and averaging 22 points per game, which is the lowest for James Harden since 2011-2012, which was his 3rd year when he was playing in OKC. He's also shooting 40.7% from the field, which is his lowest shooting percentage ever. Also is shooting 2.33. Well, he's actually made 2.3 3-point buckets, which is his lowest 3-point make since 2012-2013. And he's putting up 6.7 3-point attempts, which is his lowest output since 2013-2014, his 4th year. Well, actually, his 4th year in the league, his 1st year in Houston. So his output has most definitely lessened since coming to the 76ers, something that I think a lot of people didn't necessarily expect. They was hoping that he would come in with his output and match it along with Embiid's output to make them a better team.
Right.
But we don't see it yet.
Right.
And I don't know if we're going to see it, because for those who watch this show and have heard my opinion and my commentary about James Harden, you know I don't necessarily trust that Bama in moments when it counts, and especially when in the playoffs, where everyone was saying that, okay, maybe if James Harden was healthy against the Bucks last year, maybe they beat the Bucks in Game 7. I'm like, no, the same numbers he put up in that game is the same numbers he's put up in crunch time in the playoffs before with other teams. So that's just a pattern.
Right.
That's just something that we've seen from him. And if he continues to play like the way he's playing right now in Philly, get ready for a second round ousting, man. And
get ready
I
for
might
the
have to go
Philly
in
booze.
and go up to Philly and get some cheesesteaks with that Bama.
and get ready for the booze to rain down. So,
right?
Someone had, God, I wish I had it in front of me. A buddy of mine from grad school at NC State, a few years ago, he sent me like a Reddit link to like a statistical correlation.
His stats when he's in cities with great strip clubs.
Yes. How is that cause or causation of his play? The greatest, he called it and I agree with him, the greatest Reddit thread of all time. That was an awesome thread. I think about that every single time I hear about James Harden. I can't help but laugh out loud. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see Philly, what they're going to look like in the next couple of years, counting this year.
Yeah.
Because, again, the East is crazy deep. Mm-hmm. And, I hadn't seen it this deep in a very long time. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it's really going to look looking forward. I mean, with James Harden show up and show out, mm-hmm. He fizzle again in Philly because Philly ain't going to play it. Philly ain't going to play that. It's not Houston.
No, it's not.
It's not Houston. It's not Brooklyn. When there are a lot of Knicks fans going to the game, it's Philly. Mm-hmm. So Ben Simmons ran his own ass out of time because they couldn't handle it. So and other reasons too. Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid. Yeah. But anyway,
only for that Bama to end up sitting out for the rest of the year and potentially the playing game.
Yeah, I've said that too. I don't think he plays in the playoffs, man.
I don't think so either.
So it's a wash.
Oh, and even if he does, how good will he be?
Right.
How good will he be? But yeah, it's interesting of how well the East is looking right now. You talk about it not being this loaded in years. The eras in which I can think about it being this loaded, even when it was top heavy with the Bulls, but everyone else was still, competitive.
Yeah. New York, Indiana.
New York, Indiana, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who else was good during that era?
Orlando was good for a little while there.
Orlando was good. Charlotte was good during that time frame.
Yeah.
So you had good teams. They just couldn't oust Chicago. And then you move on to the early 2000s.
Miami too.
When you had, the Miami Heat. Oh yeah, the Miami Heat, right? So yeah, during that era. But you move on to the early 2000s, again, rather deep with the 76ers, the Heat, the Knicks. Who else were good during that era of the early 90s and the but yeah, they were still relatively competitive, but I still didn't necessarily see because you had the Nets win the conference title at one point. You had the Sixers win one. You had Detroit end up winning, of course, back-to-back titles. So yeah, even when it was the Pacers were still playing well in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So Chicago was playing well. So it was still deep then, but it was still like maybe one or two teams. I would say this is the deepest the East has been since the early 2000s. So I'll just go ahead and clean it up. Yeah, I'll clean it up and say it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the West used to run them during that time with the Lakers 3-peat and all that good stuff. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun playoffs, though. It's going to be, especially it's going to be fun playoffs. More on that later. So we're going to get us to the HBCU Sports segment. I caught right quick before you bless us with your knowledge, because this is what you do. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you caught the Pivot podcast on YouTube. They did their first live show at Grambling.
Oh, wow.
They took the show on the road because basically Hugh Jackson was a guest early in the season, right? Mm-hmm. And huge fan of Hugh Jackson, by the way. And he made them promise, especially Channing Crowder, to show up for their spring game.
For their spring practice? Okay.
On set, and they did. And it was pretty cool. They brought on, aside from Hugh Jackson, of course, they brought on the AD. They brought on a couple, 2 or 3 players. Okay. And last but not least, they brought on the president, the campus president, who grew up in Grambling, Louisiana. So it's a homecoming for him. So I thought it was pretty cool. I heard about, and the former player, Jason, I think his name is Jason Hatcher, who
Yes.
played in Dallas, I think.
Dallas, yeah, the D lineman, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a Grambling alum. He still looks in good shape, by the way. But anyway, he gave the realest conversation with the pivot crew.
Okay.
That would be, if those who don't know, Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor. Great show. But anyway, he was outright honest and said, hey, I've been to the light to the top in terms of the highest levels. And he said, coming back to Grambling, he said, our facilities suck. He said that. He said, we need to invest more in our program. We need to he said he needs to do better. He says the administration needs to help Hugh Jackson. The alums need to help, need to do better, which is what I was saying in the past few. I know we're sharing a brain a bit on that, but I've been saying that shit from the mountaintops for the last couple of months. Well, hell, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Given Deion's success at Jackson State and attracting the likes of Hugh Jackson, the coach, and Eddie George had a successful first season. If you look at what Tennessee State was before his arrival. So, I mean, it's all about that reinvestment. Now, some schools in the SWAC are doing just that. FAMU's facility are great. The facilities are great. They are great. We know about A&T's facility. I know we were once a MEAC school, now a SWAC school. But anyone who's been to our campus and come drop by during homecoming, seeing how beautiful our campus is.
Well, the campus is beautiful. The athletic facilities is something to be desired, but there are plans in place as of right now, most definitely to upgrade Corbett. They're in heavy discussion on either doing renovations to the football stadium as well, and potentially doing something to improve the facilities for the outstanding track and field program that they currently have.
Yes, please bless that track and field program. It is top notch, and we're doing it essentially with one on time behind our backs.
Yes, right, and they should already know that if they don't give them what they need, and which also includes paying the man, and the man in this case being Dwayne Ross, the head coach.
Yes,
that he will be enticed to go elsewhere.
Oh hell yes, he would, and
because they know. They most definitely know who he is. Even if they were attempting to deny him before, they most definitely understand this dude and how talented of a coach that he is, and his ability to bring in talent to such a small program to turn it around, to make it what it is right now. But to your point, Jackson State, Coach Sanders just revealed that they have a new locker room and new facilities there for new training. Well, eating area, and for nutrition and classrooms for the football team. Meeting rooms, I should say, for the football team that they revealed on social media this past week. And wonderful. But of course, there's still some other things that they would like to make, not only at Jackson, but at other institutions as well. And to your point, in terms of an investment, my whole thing was originally, yes, we need to give back. It's not just about giving back no more now. It's about being able to sustain giving and also being capable of getting capable of getting monies from non-alums too. So be it mainly, hopefully, corporations and companies will go ahead and start investing in HBCUs as well, because the places where we want to go competitively.
Right.
And where we would like to have our facilities and our programs, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Our alumni base, we don't have a large enough alumni base to consistently give the way that we need to give in order for us to be competitive.
That's very true.
So our athletics department have to be a lot more creative in their fundraising so that we can make our programs more competitive.
Right.
So the thing is, if that's what we're going to do, that's what we need to do.
Right.
Then if we're not, then we need to go ahead and keep sticking to having the Celebration Bowl, and nothing against the Celebration Bowl. I love it, but I know there are a lot of people who look to have more than just a Celebration Bowl and want to compete against other FCS powerhouses.
Right.
You can do both. Yes.
She can.
But my thing is, if you're looking to be competitive against other FCS programs, we're going to have to do better in our fundraising.
Right.
Or we just need to go ahead and just be separatist and compete only against ourselves and look good against ourselves. It is what it is.
It is.
I know it's hard. A lot of people to hear that and understand that, but that's where that truth is. We're going to have to get to a certain point where fiscally we're capable of competing, or we're going to get left behind. It's just facts. But to your point, I'm just going to be intrigued to see exactly how everything goes and to start see if, you know what, I don't need to know if former athletes and rich alums of our HBCUs give back. I don't need to know who does it. I just want to see it happen. Right. It just needs to happen. And again, we just need to find better ways of raising money for our athletics department. And hopefully this crop of leadership that's coming in a lot of places, it's new crop, because we've seen a lot of new hires as ADs come around in the past few years at several HBCUs. Yeah. Hopefully these new leaders can come through and come up with creative ways of raising revenue.
Right, because we need some great ideas. I mean,
yes.
I'm happy at I'm happy that we're doing more A&T. Right, I'm happy. I mean, that student wellness center, it's beautiful, man.
Very.
It's beautiful,
very.
Bro. It's beautiful.
It
I know
is.
It was the student to the body, but yo, we could do that, man. Come on now.
But see, that's the thing, right? Yeah. So as wonderful as a lot of these new buildings, especially with this new, God, I want to say it's like 9-figure engineering building that they just built.
Yeah,
again, that's engineering money. That's not athletics money. That's engineering money. Correct. That's a whole nother crop.
Correct.
But if they can go ahead and start generating, I know they're not going to generate 9 figures. Let's be realistic. That's not going to happen.
Sure.
But in order for them to compete, and I said it before on this show, in order for them to compete in the CAA where they're moving to, along with Hampton, they're going to have to be able to fiscally compete, which means they're going to end up having to raise somewhere between 18 to 25 million annually.
Annually, not just one time.
Annually.
Right.
Yes, and we're currently somewhere between 12 and 17 million.
Okay, well that's better than we were last time we talked about that. So
yeah, no, yeah. But like I said, it's somewhere between. But A&T is most definitely at around 15. Okay. 15, 16. But they want to get to 25 on an annual basis.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Again, that's why we've been saying we don't have to. We're not asking HBCUs to be like Alabama, Clemson, Auburn. No. Those schools have too far ahead of a head start. Right. Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty goddamn hard. We're not asking for that. We're just asking for we're asking for consistent, just giving reinvestments in our sports programs. If we want to keep like attracting unicorns to coach or keep the 3 stars or the occasion 4 and 5 stars away from these PWIs, we have to constantly and consistently reinvest in the schools, in our program, in the sports, in our sports programs, to not only attract them, but to keep them there.
Attract them, keep them, and be competitive on the field of play. Yeah. Those 3 things have to happen in order for us to become successful the way that we want to see us be successful. Now, the whole aspect, the comparison to Power 5 conferences or major conferences is something that needs to be thrown out of the window. It's very antiquated. I know that even I used to think that way, like say 10 years ago, right? Only to realize that to be realistic, no, we can't do that. 1, our alumni bases aren't large enough.
Correct.
2, our fan bases aren't large enough.
You got that right.
3, we haven't found a way to get to do fundraising with major companies and corporations to give to the universities to make them want to invest in us as well. Right. So we have to make it so we have to do whatever we need to do on our end to make that possible and to make that so.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean,
we can't just keep hoping that people give to HBCUs because we're HBCUs. We have to show and prove that we're deserving of it.
Yes.
And then show and prove on the floor and on the court as well.
Yes. Bravo. Yes. We've been screaming this shit from the rooftops for months. And we're probably going to scream it again, which will have our annual HBCU summit sometime in the summer when we bring our friends back on here to have the round table. We're going to have a round table. It's going to evolve a lot since what's been happening the last couple of years, but we didn't get to have our round table, I don't think last year, but we have a lot to talk about, man.
Yes.
This time around. So what else has been going on in the world? Oh, by the way, for right real quick, before, please check out the pivot in the episode with Grambling. You see, Grambling, the facilities are looking better. They could do more, but they look better. The field looks a lot better with the field turf. I love the field turf. Love the addition of the scoreboard. Prairie View A&M's doing the damn thing too. For those of you who don't know, Google them. I think Alabama State's doing the damn thing with their facilities. And we know about Jackson State's and in the locker rooms, how fat the home team's locker room is. And the facility, they broke ground on meeting rooms and whatnot. They're doing it.
Yeah.
It can be done. They're proving FAMU. We wish for FAMU earlier. It can be done. Yeah. No excuses. I think Southerners are upgraded as well. Prairie View A&M, I think, is upgraded. So Texas Southern, I said Prairie View. Texas A&M, Texas Southern, I should say. Texas Southern.
Texas Southern, yeah.
Pine Bluff, I think, is upgraded facilities. So I think Pine Bluff has. I'll check back later, but I think Pine Bluffs are at least in the process of doing so. It can be done. There's no excuses. You want to be big time. You see what the Unicorn, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime is doing in Jackson State. You see what GU Jackson's about to do at Grambling. The schools attracted these names. They got the blueprint out. They're doing it. Yeah. There's no excuse. You want to be big time. We want them to be big time. We want them to compete with the other FCS conferences. We already have them beat in attendance by a mile. Yeah. It's time to put up or shut up at this point.
Yeah. It's becoming to the point now where not only do we need to compete against those in other conferences on the FCS level, and in the mid-major level as it pertains to basketball, but some of these schools are going to have to start competing in conference now. If you're in the SWAC or in the MEAC and you're not doing what some of those other schools are doing, if you're not improving your facilities,
right.
And you're going to end up having issues attracting talent and attracting players and competing on the field and having fans come to your games and getting that money that you need in order to improve. So, yeah, if you can't compete within your conference,
is right. That's an any conference. I mean, not just a SWAC. It's just an any damn conference.
Any of them.
So, there you go. Okay, so I'm sorry. I hijacked your section. But anyway, please, I know you have some other news to bless us with, so I just want to get that off my chest. But
no. That's always needed. That's always necessary to say. I don't care. It's going to get to a point where people are going to get tired of me saying this.
Yes, right.
Because I'm going to need you to understand that needs to be done. It needs to be understood that I'm tired of the lip service now.
Right.
From certain fans.
Right.
You say you want to see competitive play, but you're not giving back. Word?
Yeah. It's no excuse.
Or you don't understand how this works.
It's no excuse. It's no excuse. It's no excuse.
At this point, no. And especially if you see my face and it comes up, you're going to hear me talk about it.
Right.
So prepare to get tired of it.
Yes.
But moving on.
There
are other things to talk about. Right? And of course, if there is a basketball game being played right now, and I know that we don't want to miss the rest of that game.
Sure.
So other HBCU news that's going on right now, big news that's going on right now. On Sunday, yesterday, technically it's the first annual, but this is their third try of trying to do it. They didn't do it in 2020. They didn't do it in 2021 because of COVID, and that would be the HBCU All-Star basketball game. They had their first one on Sunday down in New Orleans. And the plan is from here on out, as long as they continue to have it, it's going to be played at the site where the Final Four is going to be. So in that Sunday, in between both the Final Four and the championship game, it will be the HBCU All-Star game played in that city. With that said, with the first annual game being played on Sunday, Team McClendon, which is made up of or comprised of teams from the MEAC, the SEAC, and Division I Independents. And I only say independents because they're teams who aren't in HBCU conferences, that being the likes of A&T, Hampton, and Tennessee State. And I'm intrigued to see what happens with the likes of D2 independents like West Virginia State, Lincoln, over in Missouri, and UDC that are all D2 programs too. And potentially maybe we can start getting them to convince them to start thinking about NAIA programs too, but I digress.
Okay.
Because if you want to say HBCUs, we need to think about them all, but I digress. So Team McClendon, again, made up of teams from the MEAC, the SEAC, and D1 Independents. They won the first game, beating Team Gaines, which is, of course, named after Clarence Big House Gaines. Big House
Gaines.
Yes, that team is comprised of teams from the SWAC and the CIAA. They Team McClendon won 79-75. Taj Green. Now, see, one of the big things, of course, with this game is that it gives these stars or these players a little bit more exposure, along with them having a combine for NBA teams to come out and check them out. Yes, some of these D1 programs get a little bit of exposure. It's great if, of course, they can get more, but it's those D2 program guys who I believe need to get more exposure. And actually, in most cases, especially if you think about HBCU players from the 80s and the 90s that made it to the NBA, they either came from a D2 school, they came from Tennessee State, or of course, in Avery Johnson's case, came from Southern. But yeah, Taj Green plays for Benedict in the SEAC, was named the game's MVP when he finished the game with 12 points and 7 rebounds. So shout out to Taj Boyd, and of course Team McClendon. But that game was iced by my man Cam Langley out of A&T, the point guard, when he sunk 2 buckets, 2 free throws in the closing moments of the game to extend their lead to 4, which of course was the final total, the final point differential of their win. Again, 79-75 over Team Gaines. I already talked about JSU's new locker room, and if you haven't had an opportunity to go check it out, there's videos of it on YouTube and on Coach Sanders's social media, so you can go check it out there. Now, the one place where I wasn't necessarily looking to see a whole lot of HBCU news, but was surprised to see it, was during. You know what else? What the other big sporting event that was going on this weekend, Scott, was?
It was bowling. I think bowling was happening, right?
Well, I mean, bowling is happening. Yeah, they're happening. But no, I mean, in the world of sports, not just
the world of sports. I'm sorry.
The world of sports. Yeah.
Oh, no, bless me. What's going on?
You don't know?
No.
WrestleMania.
Oh.
WrestleMania is this past weekend.
Okay.
So
I've been out.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and sit here and not act like I'm not necessarily. Well, I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but I'm big enough.
Yeah.
Not just because
you're a wrestling fan, brother. You're a wrestler.
But I'm a wrestling fan. Yeah. So of course, yes, I still watch WrestleMania. I do. So what? Come fight me. But there was a lot more of an HBCU presence during WrestleMania than I expected it to be.
Okay.
First and foremost, let me start with Friday night. For those who are familiar and watch the WWE, you know that Friday night is Hall of Fame night, where they go ahead and they have their inductees presented for the Hall of Fame. Now, amongst those inductees, of course, wrestlers from your era, Scott, that you most definitely know about. The Steiner brothers were inducted. Van Vader was inducted.
Yeah, Van Vader, yeah.
But the HBCU alum that was inducted, and someone who I didn't realize was an HBCU alum until this week, Queen Sharmell. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Queen Sharmell, Sharmell is the wife and manager of WWE Hall of Famer and five-time World Heavyweight Champion Booker T.
Nice.
Now, again, HBCU connection, she is a graduate of Spelman College, 1997.
Oh, wow.
Something I had no idea
Oh,
about.
she went to bougie school.
Week.
How about that? She bougie.
She sure did. Right?
She bougie. I said it because my wife's a Spelman alum, by the way. So shout out to Spelman.
And you know, my sister's a Spelman alum as well. And
that's correct.
Friends
yes.
who are Spelman alums and Morehouse alums too. So yeah, you know, I poke fun at them too. But yes, but she's also a Miss Indiana too. And was Miss Indiana during that infamous year of the Miss Black American pageant involving Mike Tyson. So she was there. She wasn't involved.
Okay.
But she was
That's
there.
my next question. Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't involved, but she was there. So again, shout out to Queen Charmel. She joins the likes of one JYD, Junkyard Dog, who of course is a two-time All-American, played football at Fayetteville State. Also, Ernie Big Cat Ladd, the All-American, played at Grambling State. For those who may or may not know, Freight Train Rufus R. Jones, another WWE Hall of Famer that wrestled primarily in the 70s and the early 80s, is an alum of South Carolina State. And Luther Lindsay, who attended both Norfolk State and Hampton. So she joins them as the HBCU alums in the WWE Hall of Fame. Also during WWE weekend, something since Scott, you don't watch now, they've decided to move on, to make WrestleMania a 2-day event now.
Damn.
So Saturday and Sunday is now WrestleMania nights, which of course makes it that much more interesting on Saturday night because of course it now goes up against the NCAA Final Four too. I'm like, okay, make my life that much harder. Thank you.
Right.
So yes, I bring that up because the wrestler Omos, whose real name is Tololup Omagbehim. I think that's how you pronounce it.
You do it better than I would have. Yeah.
Tololup Omagbehim. I think that's how it's pronounced. Omagbehim. Omos appeared in his first ever WrestleMania solos match this past weekend. Now, who is Ogmium, you might ask? Ogmium, who was born in Lagos, Nigeria. For you Avenger fans out there, yes, that Lagos. He played at Norfolk State in 2014 and 2015.
Oh.
Matter of fact, Omos is 7'3", so of course he played center during his time at Morgan State. And yes, he is a brute to deal with in the ring, but unfortunately he came up short against Bobby Lashley in his first solos match. And then of course the Texas Southern Ocean of Sound came out and performed the theme song for one Bianca Belair. Now, for those again who watch WWE, or for those who don't, Bianca Belair is the new, now second time, Raw Women's Champion, and she had the TSU Ocean of Sound come out and perform her entrance music when she first came out. But yeah, it's big for not only for TSU to be out there performing, because of course WrestleMania was in Dallas this past weekend. Not only was it big for them to come out and perform during WrestleMania, but of course it's also big for Bianca Belair becoming being on that short list of Black women wrestlers to become a WWE World Champion.
Nice.
And she's done it for a second time.
Now, let me ask you this about what WrestleMania is. Is still pay-per-view?
Yes.
Okay, pay-per-view.
Yes.
Okay.
What they've done now is they've moved over. They ended up starting a network back in, I want to say it was 2016, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And that network has now since moved over to Peacock. Now,
okay, I have Peacock.
So if you have, the regular Peacock, you can actually get all of their events and their non-premium pay-per-views. But if you have Peacock Premium, you also can get their premium pay-per-views as well.
Okay.
which are, of course, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the one on Thanksgiving, Survivor Series.
Okay.
Yes, but you also have access, even if you have regular Peacock, you have access to the entire library, which is not only all of their wrestling shows, but their other shows that are like features on pro wrestlers and talk shows and interviews and all types of insider programming that they have on the network. Okay. So WWE, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and send me a check or a t-shirt or something for promoting your network here.
Free advertising.
On the Klown Times.
No such thing as free advertising.
No. But yes, shout out to everyone from the HBCUs that showed up during WrestleMania this past weekend.
Awesome. Appreciate that. All right. So on that note, hope you guys are infotained on that. Please check out more of his great work on hbcu.com. You see on the backdrop there. sports.com. That's all things FCSLS pertains to HBCUs, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You can continue to check me on the Klown Times at www.theklowntimes.net and subscribe, comment, like, share.
Yes.
Okay. Even if you have some beef with what we said, particularly the HBCU athletic sports segment, we'll comment back. We may be a little petty in the process, but we appreciate the back and forth and the love and you tuning in. So please do that.
Not even just about the HBCU stuff. Hey, you don't like what I said about James Harden?
Yes.
Let me know.
Yes. We know Philly. We know a lot between you and me. We know a lot of Philly fans out there. So bring it. By all means, bring that shit. But anyway, please continue to check us out. Please hit the bell so you can get notifications when we put new stuff on the YouTube channel, so you can check us out as well. So until next time, enjoy the tournament tonight. I'll be watching the tournament, and please have a great week, rest of the week and all that good stuff. So until next time, boom, peace out.